How did Israel defeat the Ammonites and the Syrians in 2 Samuel 10? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 2 Samuel on Walking Through the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 2 Samuel chapter 10, verses 9 to 19. Before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to 2 Samuel chapter 10, verse 9. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 2 Samuel chapter 10, beginning at verse 9. When Joab saw that the battle line was against him before and behind, he chose some of Israel's best and put them in battle array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he put under the command of Abishai his brother, that he might set them in battle array against the people of Ammon. Then he said, If the Syrians are too strong for me, then you shall help me. But if the people of Ammon are too strong for you, then I will come and help you. Be of good courage, and let us be strong for our people and for the cities of our God. And may the Lord do what is good in his sight. So Joab and the people who were with him drew near for the battle against the Syrians, and they fled before him. When the people of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fleeing, they also fled before Abishai and entered the city. So Joab returned from the people of Ammon and went to Jerusalem. When the Syrians saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they gathered together. Then Hadadezer sent and brought out the Syrians who were beyond the river, and they came to Helam. And Shobach, the commander of Hadadezer's army, went before them. When it was told David, he gathered all Israel and crossed over the Jordan and came to Helam. And the Syrians set themselves in battle array against David and fought with him. Then the Syrians fled before Israel, and David killed 700 charioteers and 40,000 horsemen of the Syrians, and struck Shobach, the commander of their army, who died there. And when all the kings who were servants of Hadadezer saw that they were defeated by Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Syrians were afraid to help the people of Ammon any more. In our last lesson, we noted that chapter 10 takes us back and further expands on the battles that are summarized in chapter 8. It was there that we learned that David expanded Israel's territorial influence north all the way to the borders that God had promised Abraham, but land that Israel had failed to conquer when they entered the promised land. However, the specific circumstances that led David this far north were not explained to us in chapter 8, but they are here in chapter 10. It all started with the death of the king of Ammon. David, because the now deceased king of Ammon was kind to him, sent his condolences to the new king of Ammon, Hanun. The advisors of Hanun told him that David wasn't acting kindly. Rather, he was sending spies so that he could conquer the people of Ammon. Agreeing with the advisors, Hanun had David's servants' beards half shaved off and their clothing slit all the way up to the buttocks. This was extremely shameful and an act of war, something that the Ammonites recognized. So in order to prepare for the battle, the Ammonites hired Syrians from the north to come and assist them. From 1 Chronicles, we learn that this hired army was situated in Medeba, not too far from Reba, the capital city of the Ammonites, while the Ammonite army was situated at Reba itself. Reba is situated within the circle on our map near the label of Ammon on the right. Coming to verse 9, and we get the actual battle itself. With the armies of the Ammonites split up, Joab, David's general, decided to split his army up, with Joab leading part of the army against the Syrians and Joab's brother Abishai leading part of the army against the Ammonites. The two brothers made a deal that if the opposing army they were facing was too much for them, then the other would come and help. In all things, the two commanders trusted that the Lord would do what was right in his sight. I find this type of faith a refreshing change from the days of Saul. If you recall back to 1 Samuel 17, when Israel faced the Philistines and Goliath, that before David came, the armies of Israel and their commanders were afraid. That was not true here. There were large armies on the Ammonite side, but Joab was convinced not only that God was on their side, but that God would do right. That is the type of faith we need, that no matter what situation we face in life, that the will of the Lord will be done, and that whatever the Lord decides will be right. And lo and behold, when Israel's army set up in battle array, fear beset the Syrians and the Ammonite armies, and they both fled. The Syrians fled north back to where they came from, while the Ammonites fled back within their city walls. Joab chose not to pursue either the Ammonites or the Syrians, who retreated, rather choosing instead to accept victory and to return to Jerusalem. However, when Hadadezer and the rest of the Syrians saw that Israel had defeated them with the Ammonites, he decided to gather people together and go and stage an attack against Israel. Word got back to David before the Syrian army reached Israelite territory, and so he gathered an army himself, crossed over the Jordan River, and traveled northeast to where the Syrian army was situated in Helam, which is thought to be in southern Syria. Even here the Syrian army fled before Israel's army, just as they did in Medeba. And David killed 700 charioteers and 40,000 horsemen of the Syrians. Even Hadadezer's commander was killed in battle. When you compare who was involved in this battle, the total number of the people killed here in chapter 10 with those killed in chapter 8, you get approximately the same number, showing us that these two chapters represent the same event. And so it was, when all the kings who were servants or tributes to Hadadezer saw that they were defeated by Israel, they made peace with Israel and became Israel's tributes, just as chapter 8 says, thus expanding David's and Israel's sphere of influence. But this victory had another effect. These people were afraid to help the people of Ammon in battles against Israel again. Losing such a valuable ally will have terrible consequences for the people of Ammon, as we will begin to see starting in the next chapter. However, during those battles with the Ammonites, David would do something that would change his reign completely, and not for the better. What would David do? We invite you back for that in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. Tomorrow we will be taking a one-day break and will return, the Lord willing, on Monday, April 10th, 2023. When we return, we'll take up with 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 1 to 13. We hope that you'll come back and join us in that discussion, and we will continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.